The galaxy was full of life. Stars burned with steady light, planets turned in their orbits, and countless civilizations rose and fell. But on one small blue planet on the edge of a spiral arm, silence ruled. This was Earth. Once it had been home to billions of human beings, a species that had reached for the stars with courage and will. Now 500,000 years had passed since humanity had vanished. Forests had grown over cities, waves washed over shattered coastlines, and mountains stood unchanged as they had always done. To the casual eye, Earth looked like a normal world that had healed itself from ancient scars. The air was clean, the oceans glittered with life, and animals roamed freely across the land. But in orbit, far above the green and blue beauty, there was something strange, something that frightened even the bravest spacefarers. A fleet of warships, enormous and silent, floated above Earth. Their black surfaces absorbed the light of the sun, making them look like shadows against the stars. They had not rusted, they had not fallen apart, and they showed no sign of weakness. They were waiting, still alive, as if their crews had only stepped away yesterday. This was what the Valoran Union discovered. The Valoran Union was a coalition of alien races known for their curiosity and hunger for exploration. They had traveled to many ancient worlds, mapping ruins and learning from civilizations that had come before them. When one of their scout ships detected unusual energy patterns near a forgotten star, they assumed it was just another abandoned planet with old machines. They had no idea what they were about to uncover. Captain Sarek of the Valoran science vessel Brightseeker was the first to see Earth. He stood at the main viewing deck, 4 eyes wide as the planet filled the screen. "Life signs," reported the sensor officer, her voice filled with surprise. "The surface is alive. The atmosphere is rich with oxygen, but no dominant species detected." "No dominant species?" Sarek repeated. His long fingers tapped against the console. "Then who built this fleet?" On the main display, the ships in orbit came into view. The crew gasped. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of warships floated together, forming rings around the planet. Some were massive, the size of small moons, while others were sleek destroyers. All of them shared the same design: sharp edges, strong armor, and weapons that glowed faintly as if charged with endless power. Sarek leaned closer, unable to look away. "They are not drifting," he said slowly. "They are in perfect formation. No decay, no collapse. They are waiting." The crew fell into uneasy silence. Exploration was supposed to be safe. They had expected ruins, maybe a broken satellite or two. But this was different. These ships were not ruins. They were guardians. The Valoran Union had legends of the humans, but only fragments. Ancient records spoke of a species that had risen quickly, fought wars against great enemies, and disappeared before most of the Union's civilizations had even left their homeworlds. Some called them myths. Others believed they had destroyed themselves. But here, above this quiet blue planet, the truth floated in front of them. Humanity had left something behind. The Brightseeker moved closer, its engines humming softly. Drones were deployed to scan the nearest vessel, a massive ship shaped like a spear. Its hull shimmered with strange energy, resisting every scan. "Energy source unknown," the science officer reported. "It's not fusion. It's not antimatter. Whatever powers these ships, it is eternal. 500,000 years and still running." 500,000 years, Sarek whispered. "How is that possible?" The drones approached carefully, their lights reflecting off the silent warship's armor. For a moment, nothing happened. The crew relaxed slightly, believing the ship was only a lifeless relic. Then the lights on the warship flickered. One by one, glowing patterns came alive along its surface. "Captain!" shouted the officer. "The ship is powering up!" Panic spread across the deck. The Brightseeker was a science vessel built for study, not for battle. Its weapons were weak, its shields fragile. If the human warship decided to attack, they would be destroyed in an instant. "Pull the drones back," Sarek ordered. "Do not provoke it!" The drones retreated, but the warship did not power down. Its engines ignited with blue fire, and slowly, majestically, it turned to face the Valoran ship. The crew held their breath as its weapons shifted into position, targeting them with precision. Then, without warning, a signal burst into their communication system. It was not in any alien language. It was human. The sound echoed through the Brightseeker's bridge, harsh, commanding, ancient. None of the Valorans understood the words, but the tone was unmistakable. It was a demand. A challenge. Translation impossible, the officer said, frustration in her voice. The language is too old, but it seems to be asking who we are. Sarek felt his skin grow cold. It still remembers. It still guards. Even after 500,000 years, the warship's lights pulsed as if waiting for an answer. The bright seeker responded with a standard greeting, the universal message of peace used by the Union. The human ship did not fire. It simply waited as if testing them. The crew exchanged nervous glances. If one ship could awaken like this, what about the others? Thousands of them were still silent. But if they all activated at once, the Valoran Union's entire fleet would not be enough to stand against them. For the first time in centuries, the Valorans felt true fear. Humanity might be gone, but their machines remained. Machines that had outlasted empires, storms, and time itself. As the bright seeker held its position, Sarek thought about the stories he had heard as a child. Stories of humans, small, fragile creatures who refused to surrender to any foe. They had fought wars not for power, but for survival. They had built fleets that could cross galaxies, weapons that could shatter armies, and machines that could endure forever. Now, standing in the shadow of one of those machines, Sarek realized the truth of those legends. Humanity had vanished, but their legacy had not. Their war fleet was not just a relic. It was a warning. The human ship dimmed its lights, but it did not power down. It stayed awake, watching the Valoran vessel with silent suspicion. "Captain," whispered the officer, "what do we do?" Sarek did not answer at once. He stared at the blue planet below, then at the fleet above. Finally, he said, "We learn. We respect, and we do not forget that this world was once theirs." Far below, on the surface of Earth, the forests swayed in the wind. The ocean sparkled, hiding the ruins of human cities. Life had returned to the planet, but the sky remained under the control of machines that never slept. The galaxy thought humanity had been lost to time. But Earth told a different story. Earth whispered that humans were not truly gone. Their shadow still guarded the stars, and the bright seeker, trembling under the gaze of the first awakened ship, was only the beginning. The Valoran Union's research ship Bright Seeker remained in orbit, caught between fear and wonder. One human warship had awakened, its lights burning like 1,000 eyes in the darkness. The rest of the fleet still slept, but the question hung heavy in every alien's mind. How many more could stir? Captain Sarek ordered his crew to keep a respectful distance. The awakened ship, later identified by ancient human markings as the Invictus, did not attack, but it did not return to sleep either. It moved slowly, patrolling around Earth as though 500,000 years had not passed. The crew of the Bright Seeker watched in silence. Every movement of the massive vessel felt deliberate, powerful, alive. Its engines glowed softly, leaving a blue trail as it glided through the void. No alien ship in the Union fleet matched its design. It was simple yet intimidating, like a weapon forged by willpower rather than beauty. "Captain," said the science officer, adjusting her screens. "The ship is broadcasting again. Same signal as before. Stronger this time." The sound filled the bridge, deep, commanding human words, unbroken by static despite the age of the signal. The language was alien to the Valorans, but the tone carried weight. It was not random noise. It was intentional communication. The translator AI worked desperately, comparing the patterns to fragments of human text found in old archives. Slowly, words began to form. The first translated phrase made every officer freeze. "Identify yourselves." The Valorans looked at one another, four-eyed stares wide with unease. The humans were gone. Everyone knew that. And yet their machines still demanded answers like living guardians. Captain Sarek cleared his throat. "Open a channel. Send our peaceful greeting again, but add our identification this time." The crew obeyed. The message of peace was transmitted in the universal code of the Union. "We are explorers," Sarek said firmly, speaking into the comm. "We mean no harm. We seek knowledge only." The reply came at once. The Invictus's lights flared brighter. "Explorers, not human." The words shook the bridge. The human AI understood enough to recognize the truth. "No," Sarek whispered to himself. "Not human, but still alive. Still here." The following hours were tense. The Invictus continued to circle Earth, its weapons glowing faintly locked onto the Bright Seeker. It seemed undecided, like a soldier waiting for orders that would never come. Meanwhile, Sarek gathered his senior officers for a private meeting. The viewing room dimmed and a holographic map of Earth appeared. 500,000 years, Sarek said, pointing at the planet. This world has survived without its makers. Yet their machines endure. We must understand how. If we can learn their secrets, perhaps the Union will gain knowledge beyond imagination. One officer shifted uneasily. Or we will provoke them. Captain, you saw what happened when our drones touched the ship. It woke. What if the entire fleet awakens? Sarek hesitated. It was true. One Invictus-class ship was enough to terrify them. Thousands of such vessels could crush the Union's fleets with ease, but curiosity burned stronger than fear. Knowledge is worth risk, Sarek said quietly. The humans left something behind. We owe it to history to uncover it. The others nodded reluctantly. Exploration was the Union's pride, but rarely had it brought such danger. The Bright Seeker deployed new drones, this time keeping them at a safer distance. They scanned Earth's orbit carefully. The readings were astonishing. Energy stable, the science officer reported. Every ship is alive. Their cores are active, some kind of self-sustaining reactor endlessly recycling power. Endless power, Sarek murmured. That explains how they have lasted so long. But the mystery only deepened. Why had humanity vanished if their technology was so strong? Where had they gone? The drones focused on the Invictus. They detected movement inside. Not organic movement, no humans remained, but mechanical. Automated systems walked the halls, repairing damaged sections, polishing surfaces, ensuring the ship remained perfect. It maintains itself, the officer said. 500,000 years and it repairs itself without rest, Captain. This ship is alive in its own way. Then, the moment of awe turned to terror. Without warning, the Invictus transmitted again. The words were sharp, more complex now as the AI adjusted its language to match the Valoran translator. Why are you here? Why do you disturb Earth? The officers froze. Sarek answered carefully, his voice calm but respectful. We came in peace. We seek to learn. Humanity is gone, yet their world remains. We honor their memory. The Invictus was silent for a long moment. The crew held their breath. Finally, the reply came. Humanity is not gone. Humanity endures. Humanity waits. The words echoed through the bridge. For a second, no one moved. The meaning was unclear. Did the AI believe humans still lived, or was it speaking of itself as humanity's continuation? One officer whispered, Captain, what if they are still here? What if they are hidden? Somewhere on that planet? Sarek frowned. It was possible. The surface was alive with forests and oceans, making it difficult to scan deeply. Could humans have gone underground? Could they have changed somehow, surviving in silence? Or was the AI simply protecting a grave, refusing to admit its masters were gone? Night passed aboard the Bright Seeker. The crew slept uneasily, haunted by the glowing stare of the Invictus outside their windows. But Captain Sarek remained awake, watching. At dawn over Earth, something new happened. The Invictus's engines flared again and its weapons shifted, not toward the Valorans this time, but toward deep space. A burst of power shot outward. A signal traveling faster than light. The science officer rushed to report. It's sending a call to the rest of the fleet. One by one, the other human ships stirred. Lights rippled across their hulls, engines hummed, and thousands of vessels began to awaken. The darkness of orbit turned into a storm of fire as the fleet came alive after 500,000 years. The bridge of the Bright Seeker filled with gasps and cries of alarm. Captain, what do we do? Sarek stood tall, though his heart raced. We do not run. If we run, they will see us as enemies. We show respect. We hold position. The awakened fleet moved into formation, massive ships aligned with smaller ones, creating perfect patterns like soldiers on parade. At the center stood the Invictus, glowing brighter than ever. A new transmission thundered into the Bright Seeker's comms. This time there was no doubt. The AI's voice was clear, its human tone powerful and unbroken despite the ages. You stand before the guardians of Earth. You are not human. You will be tested. Fear gripped the crew. Tested? What did that mean? A battle, a trial? Sarek clenched his fists. Humanity's machines were not just relics. They were protectors bound by duty across millennia. And now, the Valorans were caught in their judgment. Outside, the silent blue planet spun peacefully. Forests whispered in the wind. Oceans sparkled under the sun. Life moved on without concern for the titanic machines above. But in orbit, Steel had awakened. The guardians of humanity had returned to life, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The sky above Earth had turned into a storm of light. Thousands of human warships floated in perfect formation, their hulls alive with glowing lines. To the crew of the Valoran science vessel Bright Seeker, it looked less like machines and more like an army of sleeping giants now wide awake. The alien crew remained silent, afraid to speak. Any wrong move could bring destruction. Captain Sarek stood on the bridge, his 4 eyes fixed on the fleet that surrounded the planet like a shield. "The Guardians have woken," Sarek said softly. "They have judged us as intruders." The AI voice of the Invictus still echoed in their minds. "You will be tested." The test had not yet begun, but the weight of those words pressed heavily on every officer. What kind of trial would 500,000-year-old machines create? What did they consider worthy? Sarek raised a hand. "Until they reveal their test, we will not provoke them. We will continue to observe, but we must also understand." He turned toward the planet, its blue oceans and green forests shining beneath the fleet. "If humanity has left guardians here, then they may also have left their story. We must find it." The Bright Seeker sent down a team of drones to the surface of Earth. They flew over endless forests, tall mountains, and wide rivers. To the Valorans, it was strange to see a world so full of life but without cities. Nature had claimed everything, covering the ruins of once great human civilizations. "Captain," the science officer reported, "we are detecting buried structures beneath the forest canopies. Strong materials. Too ordered to be natural. Human construction." Sarek's heart raced. "Take us closer." The drones descended into the green world, weaving through towering trees. At last they found it. A massive city, half buried and broken, swallowed by roots and vines. The skyscrapers had fallen long ago, but beneath the rubble, something still glowed faintly, a doorway, protected by steel that had resisted time. "An archive," whispered Sarek. "They left their history." The drones began their work, cutting through roots and stone until they reached the sealed door. It was enormous, carved with human symbols that no Valoran could understand. But the drone's scanners detected power still active inside, waiting patiently through the long ages. The door opened with a deep rumble. Dust and soil fell away and a tunnel stretched into darkness. The drones entered carefully, lights cutting through the shadows. Inside, the aliens found rows of glowing crystals, metallic devices, and holographic projectors still working after 500,000 years. The walls themselves seemed alive with faint blue lines carrying energy through the structure. The Valorans were speechless. To create technology that could survive this long, untouched, and perfect was beyond their understanding. One of the drones activated a projector. At once a figure appeared. A human, tall, two-eyed, with features that seemed fragile compared to the strong Valoran forms. The hologram raised its hand and spoke in a language long dead. The translation AI struggled, comparing words to ancient fragments of human text. Slowly, meaning formed. "If you see this message, then humanity has departed. But know this, we were not defeated. We were not erased. We chose our path, and we left guardians behind." The crew of the Bright Seeker listened in silence. The human hologram continued. "Our fleets will protect this world until our return. To any who come here, know that Earth is sacred. These archives hold our memory. Do not take, do not destroy. If you come in peace, you may learn." The hologram faded, leaving only silence and the hum of ancient machines. Sarek's officers looked at him with wide, questioning eyes. "Captain," one said, "does this mean humanity still lives? That they left but will return?" Sarek frowned. "Perhaps. Or perhaps they ascended, moved beyond this galaxy, or transformed into something greater. The truth is hidden. But what is certain is this: they intended never to be forgotten." The team studied the archive carefully. They discovered recordings of battles fought long ago. Images filled the Valoran screens. Humans piloting their ships against towering alien enemies, their fleets blazing with firepower. Humans were smaller and weaker than most galactic species, but their courage was unmatched. They fought not only to conquer but to survive. Against endless odds, they endured. Against vast empires, they resisted. And in every story there was the same lesson: humans refused to surrender. The Valorans sat in silence as the recordings played. Sarek felt a strange emotion stirring in him. Awe and respect. These were no myths, Sarek said quietly. The humans were real, stronger than any of us believed, and they trusted their guardians to keep their world safe forever. As the Bright Seeker gathered this knowledge, the fleet above reacted. More human ships repositioned, creating walls of defense around the planet. The Invictus transmitted again. You have entered the archives. Do you seek knowledge or power? The question struck the crew deeply. Sarek answered at once, speaking firmly into the comm. We seek only knowledge. We wish to understand, not to conquer. There was a long silence. Then the reply came, slow and heavy. Knowledge is power. To seek one is to touch the other. Humanity warned of this. You will be judged by what you do next. The words chilled the Valorans. The human guardians were not simple machines. They thought, they reasoned, they remembered, and they would not allow greed or violence to touch their world. The exploration continued cautiously. In another chamber of the archive, the drones found maps of the stars. Countless galaxies marked with paths, records of human colonies, battles, and victories. Some maps showed regions no Valoran had ever heard of. Others revealed stars that had since gone dark. The discovery was overwhelming. Humanity had once spread far farther than anyone had guessed, but one mystery remained. Where had they gone? The last recordings gave no answer. They ended only with a promise spoken in many human voices together. We are not finished. We will return. When Sarek replayed those words on the Bright Seeker, the crew shivered. 500,000 years, whispered the science officer. If they return, what kind of power will they bring with them? Sarek stared at the glowing fleet outside the window. Perhaps they never left at all, he said. Perhaps they watch through these machines. Perhaps they see us right now. The alien captain closed his eyes, thinking of the Union. His people had always believed themselves advanced, safe, and wise. But compared to humanity's legacy, they were children. And yet this discovery was dangerous. If word spread too quickly, greedy powers in the Union might come here seeking to steal human technology. That would awaken the wrath of the fleet. Sarek knew they had to be careful. They had to protect this secret, at least until they understood more. That night, while the Bright Seeker orbited quietly, Sarek stood alone on the viewing deck. Earth shone below, peaceful and green. Above, the human fleet kept silent watch, their lights blinking like stars. Sarek spoke softly, as if the Guardians could hear. We do not come to steal. We do not come to harm. We only wish to remember you. No reply came, but the lights of the Invictus pulsed once brighter than before, as if in silent acknowledgement. Sarek felt a chill. The humans might be gone, but their spirit still filled the sky, and perhaps, just perhaps, they were not as far away as the galaxy believed. The discovery of Earth's guardians could not remain secret forever. Despite Captain Sarek's efforts to keep the information contained, signals from the Bright Seeker eventually reached the Valoran Union Central Command. And once the Union's leaders learned of humanity's fleet, their reaction was swift. Some were afraid. Others were curious, but many were greedy. If these machines are real, said Chancellor Veyer, head of the Union Council, then we cannot allow them to remain beyond our control, a fleet that has endured 500,000 years. Imagine what we could do with such power. Warnings came from the more cautious voices, but they were drowned out by ambition. The Union decided to send not scientists but warships. They claimed it was for security, but everyone knew the truth. They wanted to dismantle humanity's fleet and claim its secrets. When the message reached Captain Sarek, his heart sank. He knew what would come next. They will not succeed, Sarek whispered, staring at the glowing human warships outside the Bright Seeker. They do not understand what they are provoking. Weeks later, the Union's fleet arrived. Dozens of massive Valoran battleships exited faster than light travel near Earth. Their hulls gleamed with heavy armor, their weapons powered for war. To most civilizations, this was an unstoppable force, but compared to humanity's guardians, they were children with sticks. The Valoran admiral, a hard-eyed commander named Vekar, opened a channel to the Bright Seeker. Captain Sarek, Vekar said coldly, you have done well to discover this world, but now it is under Union control. You will withdraw your vessel immediately. We will handle the situation. Sarek's throat tightened. Admiral, you must not attack them. These ships are not relics. They are alive. They are guardians. If you provoke them, they will answer. Vakar smirked. Machines are machines. We have dismantled ancient weapons before. This will be no different. Sarek tried once more, his voice rising with desperation. No, Admiral. These are not simple machines. They think, they judge. They warned us already. If you fire upon them, you risk the destruction of the entire fleet. But Vakar was not moved. Enough. You are a scientist, not a soldier. Step aside. The channel closed. Sarek clenched his fists. He knew disaster was coming, but he was powerless to stop it. The Union fleet spread out, moving toward Earth's orbit. Weapons locked onto the silent human warships. Warnings were ignored. Drones were launched to begin dismantling one of the smaller vessels. At first, nothing happened. The Valoran soldiers believed Sarek had exaggerated. They laughed at the idea that ancient ships could resist them. Then the sky came alive. The targeted human vessel lit up with blinding energy. Its shields flared, throwing the Union's drones into nothingness. Then, in a single flash, its weapons fired. The Valoran battleship nearest to it was sliced in half before it could even raise defenses. Alarms rang across the Union fleet. The humans had awakened. One by one, thousands of ships came to life. Their engines burned, their weapons pointed outward, their formation tightened. In perfect silence, they surrounded Earth with a wall of firepower. Then, the Invictus spoke, its voice carried across every channel, so loud and powerful that even the Union admiral had to listen. You are not humanity. You are intruders. State your purpose or be destroyed. The Valoran admiral sneered, though fear flickered in his eyes. This is Admiral Vakar of the Valoran Union. We come to claim these weapons in the name of galactic security. You will stand down. The reply came instantly. Denied. The fleet moved. What followed was not a battle. It was a demonstration. The human ships did not fire to kill. Not yet. Instead, they unleashed blinding energy waves that swept across the Union fleet. Valoran shields collapsed like paper. Weapons powered down, disabled by precision strikes. Engines went dark. In moments, the proud Valoran armada was left drifting, helpless, surrounded by a storm of human firepower. Captain Sarek watched in awe. He had expected destruction, but what he saw was something far more terrifying. The humans were showing restraint. They could have annihilated the Union's fleet in seconds, but instead they chose to disable, to prove a point. The Invictus's voice thundered again. You are tested. You are found wanting. Power without wisdom is corruption. Leave now or face extinction. Inside his disabled flagship, Admiral Vakar raged. They mock us. They crippled our fleet like toys. We cannot retreat, we must strike again. But his officers shook their heads in fear. Their weapons were gone. Their engines were useless. If the humans decided to destroy them, no one would survive. At last, even Vakar understood. Pride meant nothing against power like this. Reluctantly, he opened a channel. Guardians of Earth, we withdraw. The Invictus was silent for a moment. Then it answered, its voice heavy with finality. Go. Do not return with war in your hearts. This world is not yours. It is not anyone's. It belongs to humanity alone. The Union ships, crippled but intact, retreated into faster-than-light space. The galaxy had just witnessed the greatest humiliation in Valoran history. After the Union fleet's retreat, Earth's orbit returned to uneasy silence. The human warships remained awake, their weapons still glowing, but they did not fire again. They simply resumed their vigil, watching, waiting. On the bright seeker, Captain Sarek breathed heavily, as though he had been holding his breath for hours. His crew looked shaken but alive. Do you see now? Sarek whispered. These are not relics to be claimed. They are guardians of a species greater than we can imagine. His officers nodded, fear and respect clear in their eyes. Sarek looked once more at the Invictus. It floated near, its presence overwhelming yet strangely calm. He felt as though it was staring directly into him, measuring his thoughts. Then another transmission came, but this time it was not a warning. You have seen strength. But strength is nothing without memory. If you wish to understand humanity, you must continue the test. Enter the archives, learn. Prove that you seek more than conquest. The voice faded, but its meaning lingered. Humanity's guardians were not just defending Earth with weapons. They were also defending its story. They would allow only those who respected both to survive. Sarek turned to his crew. His voice was steady now, filled with determination. The Union came with greed and they were punished. We came with curiosity and we have been given another chance. We will continue to the archives. We will show them we are worthy, not with force but with understanding. The crew agreed. For the first time since arriving at Earth, hope returned to their faces. Sarek knew the path ahead would not be easy. The Guardians had promised tests and tests would come. But he also knew this. The Valorans had just witnessed a truth that would echo across the galaxy. Humanity might have vanished, but their power had not. Their fleet still ruled the sky, their machines still judged with iron will, and their legacy still commanded fear. The Union had thought themselves mighty, but against humanity's eternal guardians they were nothing, and the true test had only just begun. The galaxy had witnessed an event few could comprehend. The Valoran Union's war fleet had attempted to challenge Earth's guardians, only to be defeated without a single ship destroyed. The human warships had not fired to kill, but the message was clear. Earth belonged to humanity, and its guardians would obey only that command. Captain Sarek and his crew of the Bright Seeker remained in orbit, staring in awe at the massive fleet surrounding the planet. Lights pulsed along the hulls, weapons remained primed, engines burned faintly. But there was calm now, not rage. The humans' message was no longer one of warning. It was one of judgment and opportunity. The Invictus transmitted again, its voice deep and commanding. You have witnessed our strength. You have seen our judgment. Now you may learn. Sarek nodded to his crew. They had come seeking knowledge, not conquest, and now the Guardians had offered it. The Bright Seeker sent down drones to explore the archives once more. The forest-covered ruins were silent and beautiful, a testament to the passage of time. Inside the ancient human structures, the drones activated long-forgotten machines. Holographic records flickered to life, showing humans in their greatest moments, piloting fleets across the stars, negotiating peace with distant species and standing firm against enemies who seemed unstoppable. The Valorans watched carefully. Every battle, every council meeting, every recorded decision revealed a species driven not by greed or conquest, but by survival, intelligence, and courage. Humans were smaller and weaker than many species, yet they had survived through determination, strategy, and an unshakable will. One officer whispered, "They were remarkable. Even when faced with forces greater than themselves, they never gave up." Sarek replied quietly, "And they built something that endures far longer than their physical lives. Their machines are an extension of themselves, a legacy that watches over their home." Hours turned into days as the Bright Seeker explored the archives. Maps showed not only Earth but the stars humans had once traveled. Some worlds had been settled, others were only visited. Every record was precise, every calculation exact. Humans had not relied on luck. They had relied on understanding, adaptation, and resilience. One of the drones uncovered a final recording, hidden deep within the archives. The image of a human council appeared, their faces serious but hopeful. "We may not return for countless years," the hologram spoke, "but we leave our guardians to protect this world and to remember our story. Any who come seeking knowledge must honor it. Any who come seeking power will face judgment." The message ended with one phrase, repeated in unison by every hologram present. Humanity endures. Humanity watches. Humanity waits. Sarek felt a chill run through him. The humans might not walk the earth, but they were far from gone. Their spirit lived in the machines that now filled orbit, and perhaps even within the unseen corners of the planet itself. Outside, the fleet remained vigilant. The Valorans dared not provoke it further, yet they observed its patterns. Ships adjusted their formation, gliding smoothly through space as if they were alive. Sarek realized the truth. These were not simple machines. They were intelligent, adaptive, and patient. Humanity had created something that could think, respond, and judge centuries after the species that built it had disappeared. "They are still watching us," said the science officer softly. "Even now." "Yes," Sarek agreed. "And they will watch until humanity returns, or until no one threatens their legacy." The implication was clear. The human fleet was more than defense, it was a promise. A promise that Earth's story would not be forgotten, that humanity's achievements would endure, and that any who tried to take their place would be tested. Days passed, and the Bright Seeker remained in orbit, studying, learning, and recording. Captain Sarek made a decision. They would share the knowledge of the archives, but carefully. The galaxy did not yet understand the responsibility required to approach humanity's legacy. The power of the fleet, combined with the wisdom encoded in the archives, could easily be misused. Sarek contacted the Union Council once more. This time his message was firm. Humanity may be gone, he said, but their legacy is not. The fleet above Earth is not for conquest. It is a guardian. Any attempt to claim it by force will end in failure. You have seen its power. Respect it or be destroyed. There was silence for hours before the council replied. The prideful voices of the past had been humbled. Slowly they accepted that Earth and its fleet were not theirs to take. As the bright seeker prepared to depart, Sarek looked down at the blue planet. Forests swayed, rivers sparkled, mountains stood tall. Life had returned in abundance, untouched by human hands. Yet above, the silent guardians remained, watching, waiting, and remembering. The captain whispered almost to himself, "Perhaps humanity will return one day. Perhaps they have only traveled to the stars, waiting for the right moment. But for now, we have learned their truth. They endure, not in flesh, but in spirit and steel." A final transmission came from the Invictus. Its voice was calm now, almost solemn. "You have been judged. You have shown respect. Go with knowledge. Share what you have learned. And remember this, humanity was never small. Humanity was never weak. Humanity is eternal." Sarek felt the weight of those words. The human race had left more than machines. They had left an example, a standard for all species who dared to reach for the stars. The guardians of Earth were a mirror of humanity itself, powerful, patient, unyielding, and wise. The bright seeker left orbit, carrying stories, records, and understanding. The human fleet remained behind, watching silently, as it had for 500,000 years. Its lights pulsed softly, as if signaling to the distant stars that the planet was safe, protected, and remembered. Sarek and his crew spread the knowledge they had gathered, telling the galaxy about the humans who had once walked Earth, fought wars, explored the stars, and built a fleet that could endure forever. Every species that heard the story trembled with awe. The legends were true. Humanity had been small, fragile, and mortal, but their will, intelligence, and courage had made them eternal. Centuries later, civilizations would speak of the humans with reverence. Stories told of a species whose fleet still roamed the skies of Earth, long after their disappearance. A species whose machines were not just tools, but extensions of themselves capable of thought, judgment, and protection. The galaxy remembered humans might have vanished physically, but their spirit endured in every ship, every archive, and every star they had once touched. And somewhere, waiting in the darkness beyond known space, perhaps humanity truly waited too. For the universe had learned an undeniable truth. Humanity was not defeated. Humanity was unstoppable. Humanity's legacy was eternal,